everybody, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 34 of Natsume's Book of Friends. I'm gonna have to think during the OP what episode number exactly it is. I don't think is it the rule of 8? I don't think so. We might have to go back to that. So, wait, 6 and 7 this is the rule of 8. Oh my God, never mind. 6 and 7 were last week, so this is the rule of 8. Okay, well, I don't know if the rule of 8 is going to beat last week's episodes because last week it was crazy. Last week we got to get to know Matoba better through episodes 6 and 7, 32 and 33. And what a character. What a character to add to this colorful crew of Natsume's Book of Boyfriends. Oh, season 3 has been great so far. I really, really like it. I have to hold myself back from getting too reserved because every show, when you have a different season, everyone has favorite seasons. And especially in a long-running show like Natsume's that has now 7 seasons out right now, it's going to be hard to pick your favorite season. And I have had a couple comments where they're like, season 3 is my favorite. And I try not to get bummed because as soon as somebody says that the 3rd season out of 7 is their favorite, then I'm kind of like, does that mean 4, 5, and 6 aren't going to be good? But I know that that's just me getting negative. I'm sure 4, 5, and 6 are great. I may like 4, 5, and 6 more than they like season 3. So I have to try as a content creator to get that perception out of my brain. But it is cool that this is some people's favorite season. That's nice. I am very curious to know moving forward what all we get in seasons 4, 5, and 6, but we're crossing that bridge way too soon. We need to build up to that for sure. But I'm really excited to dive in and see all what we're going to have leading up to this because I think it's going to be really exciting. But anyway, so I am super excited to see what all we get. I want to give a special shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon because you all help me to support my channel and everybody on Patreon is super supportive and kind and I really appreciate that. But also everybody on YouTube that's watching, thank you all so much. But as per my philanthropy tier, I give them a shout out in my videos. So I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, Anime Annie, Be Happy, Bryant Reed, BBT, as well as Dana, Damage3245. I have to say this way. Danger Zone! Danny Donmai, Devorin, Destiny Marie, as well as Ichu Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, Elfreya, Liam Poles, Linden, Matthew Palfinier, Murphew, Nameless Monster, Nicholas, Shimoyama, Sunspots, as well as Translucent Men, Trails, Alexandra Q, and Maroni W. I say Sunspots with such flair because they always comment on Patreon, so it's fun to note that. But thank you all so much for all your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. Yeah. So I super appreciate the support and I'm excited to dive into this episode. Watching 2 episodes last week was a trip. It was a lot, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping to keep that up with this episode coming in. So we'll see. But yeah, we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right in to Natsume's Book of Friends, episode 34, the rule of 8. I have the rule of 8. 8's my lucky number, so we're going to let the 8th episode be what it is, but we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, turn that up. Yeah. It's crazy to think that after this episode, we're going to be moving into the final arc of season 3, which is wild to me. Also, something else that has come to light is some people were talking about the OPs and EDs, and the grand consensus is all the OPs and EDs are great, which so far I totally agree with. Some people were like, OP of season 3 isn't my favorite, but I love the ED. I love the ED so much too, and I would agree. I think the only thing that keeps me from really liking episode OP3 is the fact that it reuses footage from season 2. Because I like the song. The song is really good. And it just has like really good vibes that kind of match what this season's done so far. But I do agree that the imagery, I loved OP2 for season 2 because it just kind of like built as the season went on. And here, on the one hand, there's a lot of mystery, so you don't know what's going to happen in the season because the OP gives nothing away. But maybe if it didn't reuse the stock footage from season 2, would have been a little bit better, but I do love this end montage here. Nyago-sensei, you're supposed to help Natsume, not potentially get him killed. Oh. I kind of miss the season starting with a little still from this episode. Oh, the fox spirit! Get away! Swiper, no swiping! Which is funny because the fox is saying it. Man, I guess if Swiper can steal the fish, then... Talk shit, get hit! Oh my god! Ah! Oh my god, he's gotten so mean! Y'all have made him get that way. Leave his fishies alone. Aw. I can defend myself against thieves. Oh. You think so? The Fox Child's Watch. Ooh. I wonder if that's like watch or like watching. Maybe watching. Oh. Yes. Get some continuity. Oh. Help him with a pottery class he's doing. What? I got shopping with friends. I want to go make some pottery. Oh. 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 No, screw them. Interesting. I wonder if Natsume is worried about a yokai showing up. Oh. Oh no. Oh, his wound. Oh. Oh. Oh, his little injury. Oh. If I lick it, it'll be fine. Oh. That face. A hot spring. Well, would your wound get bacteria in it and you die? Does that even work on yokai? Oh, there we go. There we go. Nobody asked you! Anyways, I love her kimono. A cursed arrow. Oh. Well, he wasn't lying, but... Oh. Now that makes more sense. Oh. Oh. You should go. Oh. Oh. Oh, well, that would be very handy. Oh my god. Oh. Oh my gosh. You've not come to drink sake, so we've come to visit you. I thought it was like Shigure, like checking in on them. And always like, yeah, party! They're all just partying while... Ah! They're partying while Madara's injured. That's so awful. Yeah, it might be worse if he stays there. They'll just party around him, like, for once. him out of the bag. Oh my God. That's so cute. Insanely cute. Shut up. Monday. What a cool coffee brand name. I love this like father-son bonding. He's a cool dad. What are you talking about? Aw. It's kind of cringe, but it's okay. Yeah, they probably haven't had a lot of time to talk with one another. Aw. Aw. He's like, I watched this movie in the 90s with Demi Moore, and it just really got me into it. Aw. Yeah, I love this. This is so sweet. Oh, what are these snacks to the train window? Heck yes, I don't have to get out of my seat. American, Amtrak, get on this. Oh, oh. Could the fox gather up the herbs? Oh, a watch. It really is the watch, like a literal one. That's super cute. I can never wear watches. They always pull at my arm hair and pinch them, and I hate it. I wish I could wear watches and they'd be comfortable. It's a circle of life. It's like Pride Rock. Oh. Oh! Oh! Well, Pride Rock indeed. Get off my face, kid. I never asked them to. Oh. Does this guy know Natsume? Uh-huh. Yes, we could say that. Yeah. Well. Uh-huh. Aw. But I don't think that's why he has it, though. And there he is. Oh! Oh my God, and there he goes! Well, shit, I didn't get to tell him about the watch. Well, that's not exactly true, but uh-oh. Shit. And he's gonna try to, like, avoid freaking his dad out by seeing a yokai. A year, wow. Speak of the devil. Uh-huh. Okay, good. At least he remembers that. I'm glad. Oh, your teacher's a hottie. What? Hello, Mr. Potter. Oh. Wait, trying to blind him. Oh, no. No, that's not it. Kick him in the ghost balls. Do it. Come on. Aw. Oh, shit. Well, crap. Oh, I hate that he has to defend himself like that. Right. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't go in the fire. That's bad. Yay! Hell yeah, instant hot spring. Oh. Maybe. Oh. But is that the Potter? And not Natsume? Oh. Hmm. I mean, how you gonna get your back scrub, boy? Oh, wow. Aw. Aw, that's so sweet. Ah! Aw. Oh, well, he doesn't. Yeah, well, that's not. Oh, poor fella. It's complicated, right? Oh. Oh. I mean, it was broken. Oh. Uh, dang. Yeah, I am not great with pottery at all. I'm like mediocre at best. I can make something. It will look like something that can hold liquids, but it is not going to be aesthetically pleasing. Oh. Oh. I mean, eventually. Oh. Oh. I want Natsume to come see him. Ah. Oh. In its own time. Oh. Which is what Madara is going through right now. Yeah, you're going to age a different way than he is. I mean, they're yokai. Is that necessary? I mean, I guess since he's a fox. Hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, he's like, I'm a rock. I ain't having kids. Sorry. Huh. Until time itself ends. Wow, that is crazy. I'll disappear. Oh. Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah. Wow. That's so wild. Okay. Aw. Oh, yeah, this will give you time to go see him. There we go. Wander around for a little bit. There you go. There you go. Ah. Damn. And the way that Natsume just assumed he was off doing other things, but then he really wanted to see him. Hey, you guys look all beat up. Oh. A delinquent. I'm sure you give him a lot of trouble right back. Uh-huh, exactly. Uh-huh. Oh. Ah! Oh. Oh. Right, because he's really wanting to do that. God damn it. He's like, oh, I gotta look all over the trees. It always sounds like the X-Files theme when that piano kicks in. It makes me think of the X-Files every time. Oh, Madara, what we doing? Oh. That's just moss and shit. Oh, that's super freaking cute. Damn, 12 more hours? You're gonna be here another day. Oh. I like that Madara's just sitting on top of the roof being like, looks like rain. It's gonna rain. Oh, wow. And there's the herb. Of course, Natsume's like, screw that. I gotta go find him in the rain. Poncho, who needs it? Is there like maybe a side way to get up there? Oh my god. Oh no! Oh, nature! That was the biggest F you could have given us! Oh no! Oh. Oh shit. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh no. Oh. He's like, what? Natsume's like, what? Why did I, what? Oh. Shut up, show. Why in the last 2 minutes you gonna try to make me cry again? Good. Fox spirit, you cry for me so I don't have to. Natsume. Aw. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. And he's now on just sitting on the rock there. Oh. Did he put a little fox drawing on the plate? Did he do it? Did you do it? I want to see what was on that plate. I bet it was like a little drawing of the fox. Oh. 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 Shut up! Shut up! Oh my god! So cute! So stinking cute! Good rule of 8. Good rule of 8. I'll take that. I'll take that any day, actually. That was so adorable. Yes, please. Mm-hmm. That was actually insanely precious. So, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh. I just love Natsume, like, getting to this, like, zen moment as he's growing to be like, oh, yeah, we are on different times, yokai and humans, but it's okay. Oh. And him, like, getting the herbs and grinding them up to put on Nyanko Sensei. Shut up. So freaking cute. How dare you? How dare you, show? Be freaking precious. No. Oh. So cute. All right. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, let's talk about this. Well. Are we surprised that this was not insanely adorable, but also nearly made me cry in the last 2 minutes? We're not surprised at this point. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. You know what the worst part is? The worst part is that you know it's coming. The worst part is that you know that Natsume's Book of Friends is going to try to make you cry. You can know it's going to come. That 16-minute mark, you're like, oh, we're building up to something. They're going to make me start shedding some tears. And you tell yourself, you're like, it's not going to get me this time. You're not going to get me Natsume's Book of Friends. And then it just finds a way to do it. And you're sitting there like, don't cry. Just like telling yourself this mantra over and over again. What a mantra. But yeah, so this episode was insanely cute. I wish there was this odd tension throughout it that I was like, on the one hand, I wanted Natsume to hang out with the fox spirit, right? But on the other hand, I also wanted to see Natsume hanging out with Shigure. And so this episode addressed that tension by really like having it be like a tug of war almost, because you want him to go find that fox spirit and you also want him to find those herbs to help out Madara, who's a yokai as well. But then you also want him to hang out with his dad and have some moments with him. And so it's like, it's just this weird tension that this episode built. And I feel like that tension is going to be something that plays throughout the rest of the series, because you have Natsume, who is coming to terms with this idea that he's like, well, I can just be with both the yokai and the humans. And I feel like this series is going to test Natsume a lot in the future with that concept of saying, okay, you want to do that? Well, here's your problems with said thing and how are you going to deal with them. So it's going to be interesting to see what our boy Natsume ends up doing. And I'm excited to see what happens, but I'm like, So I was saying at the beginning of the episode, season 2, one thing that was kind of like a little bit hokey at the beginning of it, but that I actually ended up really liking, was them having that still frame at the start of the episode, and just to give you like a weird still frame of where you'd be like halfway through the episode and you'd be like, what's that? And then you got to that point and you're like, oh, I kind of miss it. I got back in the 480p days of season 1 and season 2 where you were like, wish we had the higher quality. Now we do, and it looks great, but I do kind of miss it. I kind of miss that still frame, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm glad the fox spirit is doing well for himself. I like that we see him gathering up the fish, which is kind of a little callback to when he was doing that the first time we saw him for the one yokai. He was gathering up the fish, so he's honed his skills. And then I like that, you know what? These 2 yokai that keep bothering him and bullying him, you know what? I would feel bad for them if they weren't the instigator for every incident. They literally are responsible for it every single time. And I'm like, dude, if y'all would just leave him alone, he wouldn't bother you. And I like that Natsume calls it out and he's like, have you guys been bullying him? And that's why he's beating you up. And they're like, even though he was like, I told you not to do that. So I don't feel bad for them. One thing that I am sad for is that I am sad that the fox spirit has to resort to fighting back, but I'm glad that he's at least able to defend himself. Good for him. And he's like, I'm on my own. And he's like, well, I'm sure I could help Natsume now. I do get what the rock spirit is saying, that like you can't sit there and wait for Natsume to come back to you this whole time, because he's got his own life to live. You need your own life to live, and you need to do that. Do I think that the rock spirit should have patronized the fox spirit by telling him that he has to go out and have kids and stuff? I was like, you didn't need that, rock spirit. You can't even have any yourself. So do you get that right to say that to him? Let him figure that out on his own. He's still a child. He's just a boy. He's just a baby yokai. He'll figure it out. But I do agree with him that Natsume, time is going to go so much faster for him because he's a human. And for the fox spirit, I don't know. They don't quite establish in the world building. I'm assuming time is still going to go fast for the fox spirit as well. Maybe that could have been part of it too, is that the rock spirit is like, look, I got all day. I'm here for eons. It's not going to bother me, but Natsume needs to go live his own life. You're a fox. Your time on this world is limited as well. You might want to go take care of some things and create a lineage so that you have others to come after you and you're not the last of your kind. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. But maybe he was trying to get at the fox not having a lot of time on this world either. Maybe that was what he was trying to get at. But either way, I do think he brings up a good point that time is going to go in varied degrees for humans versus yokai. And I feel like Madara is kind of bearing the brunt of that because he's already known that Reiko is come and gone. And now he's gotten attached to Natsume. And Natsume, he knows, is going to come and go. So I feel for him. I feel for Madara a lot. I swear if the mangaka ends this manga with Madara like over Natsume's grave, like a red fern grows situation, I will scream. I'm like, no! So I'm glad we have 7 seasons where we don't have to worry about that. I'm glad that's not the case. But anyway, so I like the idea that we do some continuity and we do the man that gave the teacup back. I don't remember if it was season 1 or season 2, but they had that teacup. And he's like, yeah, the guy is holding a pottery seminar this weekend, and I'm just going to go. So I wanted to see if you wanted to come too. And I like that Natsume's like, well, are you going to come, Shoko? And she's like, oh, I don't like pottery. She has like the best wife excuse. She's like, oh, I'm going shopping with my friends. It's not going to take a whole weekend, but I'm not going to a pottery seminar. This is why their marriage lasts, because they are able to work it out. Communication. That was just that excuse. I love Shoko, but she was like, I ain't going to no seminar out in the boonies. She's like, yeah, I promised my friends I'd go shopping that day, so no, you two go have fun. He's like, it's just going to be something simple. They say it's going to be something simple, but they were there like the whole weekend for this pottery class, so it was pretty interesting. What I liked about this episode too was it was getting Natsume to go out and hang out with the Fujiwaras. And the best part about it was there wasn't any issues. Because the drama that I was afraid of going into this, especially after we just got off last episode where Matoba was involved, and he, like, I had all my theory crafting being like, he's going to be like spelling trouble for Natsume and causing all this chaos. And that was my fear this episode, was that they were going to go off by themselves, and then all of these yokai shenanigans were going to happen, and Natsume wasn't going to be able to have a good weekend with Shigure, and it was going to, like, make things bad. And Natsume needed a weekend like this to establish that him and the Fujiwaras can coexist, and it's fine. And if you include the yokai, it's still okay. We can get all these things accomplished, and you can have your cake and eat it too. Do I think that's going to happen every time? No. Do I think this show could be lulling us into a false sense of security, only to snatch the rug away with Matoba later? Probably. But for now, it's going to be fine. But Natsume does kind of hesitate because he's like, oh, well, I don't know if I want to go. And I don't blame him. He just learned last episode how dangerous the yokai can be. And they know he exists, and Natsume knows the yokai exists, but Shigure can't see them, and Shoko can't either. So it does make him worried. And they're like, well, do you have... I like that he's like, oh, no, it's fine. And then Shoko's like, well, do you have any plans with friends? He's like, no, forget them. I want to go. I like that. And it's August on the calendar there, so that gives us like a little time frame of how time is passing. And he's like, then let's do it. And he's like, yes. And then Natsume's like, what do I do? I've never gone on a trip with the Fujiwaras or with a foster parent before. So Madara, I love that we kind of get to see Madara a little bit more vulnerable. Like the one patch falls off his shoulder and he's having a lot of trouble with it. So he's like turning back and forth into forms. Like Madara took an arrow for Natsume. Like he hurt himself to save him, and he is struggling with it, right? And so he turned into his big form so he could try to lick the wound, but he can't reach the shoulder. It's kind of like when they tell you can't reach your elbow with your tongue. Most people can't. And then Natsume's like, are you okay? And he's like, no, it's fine. But his little, I was like, oh, poor Madara, like, sweetheart. He's like, no, I'm fine. Everything's okay. And Natsume's like, I don't know about your wound. I love the shot where the little image of Madara looking away and the little chibi face he has. Freaking adorable. Him in that little knapsack duffel bag as he's going on that trip is some of the cutest shit I've ever seen. This series makes me angry with how cute it is sometimes. I'm like, this shit's too cute. Give me it all. I'm like, I talked to y'all a few episodes ago about how there's like a Natsume clothing line. I'm like, where's my Madara in a duffel bag? Give it to me. Which I can't say anything. If I really wanted to, I could take that Madara that I have on the shelf and put it in a duffel bag and just do the same thing. But still, it's the principle of it all. I love it. I freaking love it. So yeah, he's like, well, there's supposedly a hot springs at this pottery thing. And of course, I love that Madara's like, a hot spring? Sign me up. And I was like, I don't know if you have an open wound, if you need to be getting into a hot spring. I don't know if that's going to like get some bacteria in it and cause some infection. But I love that Hinoue shows up and she's like, hold on, drama, let me in. And she's like, yeah, the springs ain't going to help your wounds. You're a yokai. Not going to do a thing. And Madara's like, but it could. I do like, though, that Hinoue comes in there to offer some help because she clearly knows, one, how much Madara cares about Natsume, even though she ain't going to say nothing because she don't want Madara to get mad. But two, she also likes Natsume enough to want to help. And she's like, so you're hit with a cursed arrow. And Natsume's like, well, Madara said it would heal quickly. And she's like, yeah, from our perspective. And that kind of ties the whole concept of time as well, is that she's like, yeah, from a yokai's perspective, not a long time, could be like 10 years, and that's nothing to us. But to you, that will feel like a long time. So she's like, yeah, from our perspective, it doesn't feel like a lot, but it does take time, and Madara's going to be out for a while, which is foreshadowing if there ever was any. The moment she said that, I was like, oh, great. We're going into the final act of the season, and Madara's not going to be as useful. Gee whiz. I can't imagine what terror Natsume's going to be put through. Uh-oh. It's not like we just met the leader of an exorcist clan that could possibly be trying to do harm to Natsume in the future. I don't think that's going to be a situation at all. So then Natsume, for a second is like, well, then I'm not going to go on the trip. And that's so interesting to me because Hinaway is like, no, go. And she tells him to go because there's a boruso, this herb that grows there that he could use to like help heal Madara's wounds. So maybe Madara will be healed up in time to help Natsume if some threat comes end of season, but she's like, it could be helpful. We still don't know how long the herbs would take to heal, but what's interesting is that Natsume wasn't going to go if Madara couldn't go. And I feel like that was mainly because Madara is a good buffer for if yokai come out to bother him. So Madara is a great character to have because if something were to like, he could help like hold off something while Natsume was with Shigure. But he also knew that Madara wasn't going to be able to do much because he was injured. So really, he wasn't going to get to go. He wasn't going to go because Madara couldn't go with him. And I was like, I think that that might also be a point of contesting in the future. Like, does Natsume decide not to do things if he can't involve the yokai because they're so integrated into his life at this point? So it's going to be interesting to see if that becomes a plot element as we go. But he agrees to take Madara also because otherwise all the yokai are going to sit in his room and party around Madara. And Natsume's like, yeah, let's leave. It reminded me of if you're a roommate and you're like hungover the next day after a party and your other roommate's like, hey, I'm going to have the party continue and they're going to come back tonight. And you're like, I can't party. And you're just sitting there on the couch like, and they're all partying around you. That's what it reminds me of. It also reminds me of when I was in college. I had one roommate that she was still an undergrad when I was in grad school. And when you're in grad school, you're doing a lot of work and you don't have a lot of free time anymore. And so I was sitting there studying and writing papers. And my undergrad roommate, she was like a junior. She's like, hey, I'm going to have a bunch of friends come over. We're going to play Mario Kart. You want to play? And I was like, I really have to get this paper done tonight and it's due tomorrow, so I can't do that. And she's like, okay, cool. So I had all these friends over and they were playing Mario Kart and I was stuck in my room writing a paper and I'll never forget it. So I will, granted, I needed that paper to graduate, so worth it, but I could play Mario Kart whenever. But it's still, I understand Madara's feelings there. So I think it's really super cute. What Shigure is like best dad vibes. Like, I think anyone should have a dad like Shigure. And I feel like Shigure having no son before Natsume, he's trying to like, what would a dad do? And so he's like, man, you look sleepy, Natsume. And he's like, yeah, I was up all night partying with these yokai. And he's like, yeah, I was up late night packing. And I feel like Shigure knows. I think Shigure knows about the yokai. I think he knows because he's like, why are you taking your cat with you everywhere? That's weird. And I think he's like, you were up packing late at night, that single duffel bag with one pair of underwear and a pair of shorts. Oh, that took a long time. Okay. So I feel like he's on to Natsume, but he doesn't judge him. He doesn't want to make him like come out and say anything. He instead is supportive and he's like, okay. Also, I cannot help that shot of Madara in the bag is the cutest thing I've seen all week, and I can't help it. And he's like, oh, you want some coffee? And he's like, sure. So he brings him back. I think this coffee brand is cool. It says Monday, Amazing Strike. Interesting. I've never seen, usually you see like the coffee out of the vending machines. They're in like a little black can that just says coffee on it. But this is like a legit, there's some legit product placement in this show. Honestly, I'm surprised. And he's like, oh, thanks. That's like the most subtle product placement. And by subtle, not at all, but still, the fact that they're subtle and there's product placement in Natsume is interesting. And he's like, yeah, there's a place that sells good lunches on the way, and we can do that. We can have that for lunch. And he's like, okay. I also love the way that this series describes like parental interactions, where Natsume is like, is this what it feels like to go on a trip with your dad? And he's like, it's a bit embarrassing, but it feels good. And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of like sometimes going on a trip with your parents. It does feel like kind of embarrassing, but it is also nice. And I love it. It's the sweetest thing. I love the emotions that are captured in this little trip. And then he's like, I don't really know what to say to my dad because we don't have a lot in common. And then he's like, well, you know, you probably are just going to humor me, aren't you? You don't really care about pottery, do you? And Natsume's like, well, that's not true. And he's like, I like the teacup I got last year. And he's like, I've always liked the feeling of pottery. Ah. He's like, you play Unchained Melody and it just comes together. I love it. He's like, I'm good with my hands. I was like, Natsume. He's like, I don't want to think about this. Shigure can get it. I know I've said it before, but Toko is a lucky woman. She is so lucky. Shigure can get it, y'all. He can get it. But I love this bonding between Natsume and Shigure. It reminds me earlier this year, my mother was gone with some friends on a trip, like back in August, and there was this car show, and my dad was like, do you want to just, he's like, one of his friends was supposed to go with him, and he kind of backed out, and so he was like, I guess I'll just go to this show, and it was like an hour and a half away, and I'm like, I'll go, and he's like, you probably won't enjoy it, and I was like, no, and I like old classic cars, like 1940s, 1930 cars, they look like mafia cars, like, I like that, and so yeah, I went with him, and we had such a fun time, like, we weren't there very long, but it was like a really cool trip, and I saw some really neat things, like, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad I went with him, but the vibes that you get in that moment that Natsume's talking about, like, those are exactly it. It's great. He's like, I've always wanted to try to make it myself. Also, these train stations that serve you lunch from outside the cars, yes, please. Hell yes. I want that. I know that the trains that go through our area, they have food in the train cars, but they're usually like heat up foods, like a heat up sandwich or a heat up little personal pan pizza. It's like not anything. I'm not a big fan of the train food. It's just like processed, packaged lunches. It's nothing special. Sometimes on the trains, though, they let you bring your own food. They are not picky. So you could bring a whole picnic basket and they'd be like, cool. So, but the concept of them bringing you lunch outside the train, though, is freaking awesome. I love that. That's great. I don't know if they still do that because this is kind of based, back in the early 2000s. But I love it. They're sitting there eating their lunch and talking, having a great time. It's so cute to see Shigure and Natsume bond. Meanwhile, the fox spirit is gathering things and finds an old watch. I love that he like puts it all up in his arm. The fox spirit is impossibly cute, but they've grown up so much. I feel like I'm watching Wolf Children, seeing how much he's grown. But it's so cute. I did feel bad that the rock spirit died, though. I was so sad. I mean, the rock spirit seemed kind of chill about it. The rock spirit's like, I've been here a while. I'm here till the end of days. What, I guess if it helps save this fox spirit, I'll go. Time to go. But I felt bad for him, But the concept of time, I felt like the rock spirit also was a good representation about how sometimes your time can be cut short. So you need to make the most of it. I thought there was a lot of interesting kind of conflicting themes throughout the episode. Like the rock spirit was trying to tell the fox spirit to not waste time and to take for granted your time, and you need to get things in order to set the trajectory of your timeline up, which is not wrong. But then Natsume's like, but I did want to see you. So it also kind of was contradicted by the rock spirit collapsing at the end, because it's like, well, you don't ever know the true set length of time, so you need to take advantage of it in the moment and just like make do with the time that you got, right? But I thought the rock spirit was kind of cool. I also love that all of the like flora and fauna in this world can have the possibility of having a spirit. And so I also like that the fox spirit does not want to become human. The fox spirit wants to be a great fox like his mom. I think that's super cute. I love that a lot. But yeah, so Shigure and Natsume make it to the pottery place. Super cute. And they're both doing well. I like the fox spirit remembered Shigure. And then we get to the pottery place, which is Yasuian Pottery School. Which, the pottery professor signed me up to fail at pottery because I'd be there. He looks like he has a great time. And he's like, we'll go to the studio. I really thought that the fox spirit was going to blind Natsume with the watch. But then the two bullies show up and he scratches the bejesus out of them and fights with them, which is funny. Also, I'm very glad that we did not have any incidents with the kiln. Because the fox spirit being like, my mom told me to stay away from the kiln. I'm like, yes, we don't need yokai spirits getting burned by the kiln. No, thank you. So that's like a big no-no. Also, pottery is freaking hard. I could see why they have schools for it. I did pottery in high school, and we made like a bowl, and we made just like a cup. We made some pretty basic things, and I could make it, but it was like all warped and lopsided. It was very abstract. It was a very abstract bowl and a very unique cup. But it was functional, but it was not aesthetically pleasing. So pottery takes a great amount of skill. And I'm not good with my hands that way. So I don't have Shigure's gift. But yeah, I think that the kiln also functioned as a really good way to keep distance between Natsume and the fox spirit narratively, because the fox spirit wouldn't get too close to the house because they were afraid of the kiln. So it didn't allow him to have those awkward interactions with Natsume while Shigure was around. And so I think from a narrator's point of view, that worked out really good. So yeah, they arrived there like on a Friday. They did all the pottery on a Saturday, and then Sunday they picked the pottery and went back home. It was great. But there is something that's so interesting about Japanese culture, though, because so the hot spring concept here in the US, we do not have hot springs. Not any onsens or saunas or onsens like that. We have saunas, but not hot springs like this, at least where I'm at. None of that. Also, it's so interesting, the cultural aspect of it makes sense getting the bath before you go into the hot spring. That makes sense. So it's kind of like if you go to a pool it's kind of like if you go to the beach. Usually a hotel on the beach has its own indoor pool, which you would be like, why do you need an indoor pool when there's the ocean? But you could get seaweed in the ocean, or algae, or jellyfish, or there might be a riptide and you can't go out in the ocean. So you hang out on the beach, then you come back in, there's an outdoor shower, and you shower off, and then you go get in the pool so that you're not tracking in all the sand and dirt and things like that. So the concept is there, but you wear a swimsuit and stuff to that, you're not nude. And so it is very much always when I just recently watched an episode of The Apothecary Diaries, and there's like a little bath scene in it where one of the sisters is like scrubbing on the main character's like back. And so it is such a cultural shift to watch it from a Western perspective and see like a parent nude on a bench and be like, here, wash my back. It's just something that never happens in my culture. So it's so interesting to see just the conversation like that. And they don't treat it as awkward or weird. It's just a scene. So that always fascinates me. But I do like this scene because Shigure talks about how Natsume has grown since he's come to live with them. And so it validates this scene a lot because Natsume's like, well, everybody calls me like that I'm wimpy and I'm kind of like I'm weak bodied and everything. And Shigure's like, I don't think so. I feel like Shigure wanted to say I've been there but didn't want to be patronizing. So he was like, no. He's like, I can tell that you've grown since you've been with us. You've grown stronger. I can tell since we lived together. And I loved that moment so much because for Natsume, it tells several things. It tells him that he is growing stronger. He's not going to be like a wimp forever. It tells him that he has had growth since he's been there, which, you often don't see in yourself until you look back and compare like, a year ago to now or something like that. But what it also does is that what it also is a way for Natsume to realize that Shigure and Toko are paying attention to him. They aren't just not noticing him or just seeing him for dinner. They notice him and they know he's there and they are paying attention to his life. And there's something really validating and comforting about knowing that you have family that care about you. And so it's such a really sweet moment. I love that. I thought that was really cool. Meanwhile, I feel sad for the fox spirit because they're by themselves and they're looking at the kiln in the watch face being like, why did Natsume go to such a horrible place? And not realizing like what it did, right? He's like, didn't he come to see me? I did feel really bad at that moment because I was like, oh my God, he didn't come to see him. I was like, oh no. I did feel really sad about that moment. But then I'll be curious when we get to the manga because he talks about how the watch only works when he's moving. So I'll be curious if the manga kind of expands on that. But they end up putting the stuff in the kiln and they decide to like wait on it so they can paint it. And that's when the rock spirit has this conversation about time and how it flows differently for yokai and humans. And he needs to just abandon Natsume and let him be, go live your own life. But meanwhile, Natsume's out looking for the herb. And he did want to see the fox spirit, but he had things to do with Shigure first, right? So then they're like, we're going to start painting. And while they're painting, I like that Madara is very much an observer this episode. He's trying to heal up, but he also sees the fox spirit. He knows that he's there, but he's like, I'm not gonna mess with it. Go let him do his thing. If he finds herbs to help me, sure thing. And then, of course, he finds herbs for Madara right next to the rock spirit. And of course, it rains because it has to rain in this show. Why wouldn't it? And then just as the tree gets struck by lightning and falls down, that's when the rock spirit saves him, and that's when Natsume shows up. I like that the of course, it's herbs that only yokai can see. I like that they're like glowing. But yeah, I love that he gets to see Natsume, and it's super sweet. And he's like, and the point where he's like, what does he say there? Natsume's like, well, I could see, he says, the rock spirit said that one of us would be sad if we kept seeing one of each other. Because yeah, eventually, somebody's going to not be able to see you anymore, and it's going to be sad. And so you might as well not have that encounter, because then it won't lead to sadness. And then he says, but that's not true. He says, yeah, this watch is broken, but I remember seeing it move. I know I had these conversations with the rock spirit. He's like, and I know what we talked about and how he saved me. So it was worth it to have those moments. He's like, and I'm sure you and I are going to remember each other's encounters as well. And I'm like, show, don't make me cry, right? So sad. And I like that Natsume's like, I didn't understand everything he was sobbing about incoherently. But I did understand the meaning of what he learned from the rock spirit. I like that he goes back and apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry I ran out in the rain. My bad. And Shigure's like, it's okay. It's fine. Who hasn't ran out in the rain in their youth? And then as they leave, I love that he left the dish. The moment he like started painting the dish, I'm like, he's going to paint a damn fox on it. And he did. And it was adorable. I mean, it wasn't as cute as Nyanko Sensei, but who is as cute as Nyanko Sensei? But still, it was really sweet. I also like now look, you can't tell me that Shigure isn't suspecting that something's up with Natsume grinding these herbs to put this salve on Madara. You can't tell me he doesn't think something's up, but Natsume is just like, everything is fine. But yeah, leaving the damn tray. He's like, what does he say there? He's like, oh, good for you, Nyongoro. I like that he has a name for Madara. He's like, meetings and partings, just a moment apart. But I want to treasure them all. And I'm like, shut up. Quit tugging at our heartstrings, Natsume Yuujinchou. Anyway, so yeah, this episode was adorable. I loved it. It was so sweet. I'm curious to know your favorite part of it as well. If you liked Hot Dad Shigure, a DILF true and true, going on this trip with Natsume, I'm so curious to hear your thoughts down below. But in any case, oh my God, I'm so excited. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, next week we'll be back with episode 35, season 3, episode 9 of Natsume's Book of Friends.